Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Brian. If you're new here, this is Hoshooter Hot Rods, and today we're going to work on a old Chevy car fender. Alright, we're building this 35 Chevy, and I've worked my way from the back to the front and kind of at the point where I've got to straighten out this fender that I messed up, that I had already straightened once before. She's got some damage, few cracks, little body filler knocked off. Let me bring you in closer so you can see what's going on. All right guys, here we go. We got a large crease here. You can see it cracked some filler, folded this corner over. Got a broken weld here, more cracked filler. The front of it took the massive part of the hit. It's got like a crease the shape of probably an old flatbed on a truck. And then down here, another crease, a dent, a torn spot, a lot of stuff bent up. So we got to figure out how to get this fender back in the correct shape again, make sure it's the right length, and do everything that we can to avoid filling it full of body filler. All right, so have the fender flipped up on my workbench here, and I'm going to use a method we'll call first in, last out. So the first thing that got damaged, this will probably be the last thing that we try to remove. So we're going to go back here, and I've got a small flange that's bent. I'm going to straighten that. It's kinked a little bit. I'll take care of that first. And then I'm going to move up here to this big kink and this bent spot here. I'll attack that next, and I'll probably have to figure out a way to push off this brace up to here, because the fender is actually a little bit shorter than what it needs to be. But I brought my other fender in so I can take measurements as I'm straightening on this one, and you can see when I was working on it before, I had to put a piece in right here. I had to come in and straighten all this and weld a reinforcing strap on the back of it. This whole section right here has already been replaced previously. This is one way my dad knew it was his original car, because when they put the Chrysler Hemi in it, they had to cut out this little notch in the front fender. So that was one way he knew that it was his old car. But I did originally like blast the insides of these, sandblast them, clean them, and then they have epoxy on the inside. So it still looks remarkably good, right? Enough yakking, and let's start whacking on some metal. So you see my tools. I've got a dead blow hammer, my body hammer that's got a cross chisel end on it. I have a large chisel, but I've taken the point off of it so that it's not gonna cut metal. We're using it to drive and to straighten metal. And then if all else fails, we've got the big spoon that we can both hit with, or we can use it here and strike the back with a hammer to drive things. So let's use some of this stuff. When I'm hitting things like metal tools, I don't like to use my body hammers because they have a nice smooth face. All right. All right, just about 15 minutes worth of tapping around and I've got this out. I've got my big dent here is almost completely gone now, just a little bit more work. And then back here I've got one little high spot and my line is pretty close to being the way that it needs to be. I was looking at the other fender worried about the angle of this, but that looks about correct. The only thing I've got left is just to straighten this out right here, and I may have to have help holding this fender up to do that because this needs to roll way down and it's split. So if I walk over here and you look at the other fender, you can see what I'm talking about. I mean, this comes almost straight down. This little flange here is at kind of a weird angle right there. And our line back there is about the same. So hey, we're doing pretty well. I've put this off for quite a while. As soon as I saw it, actually, I was wondering if I was going to need to get a fender for the car because of the amount of damage to it. But I think we're going to be okay. All right, guys, so got our biggest part of our work bumped out, and I just have been using a rigid sanding block with some old 80 grit on it. It's kind of what I've been using to do body work around the shop. And I use that to sand over the top of my metal work as I'm doing it to highlight high and low spots. So if it immediately goes through to metal, we know that's kind of a high spot. If I have metal all around it and there's filler or primer or everything left in there, I know that that's a low spot. And then I just go back to the back of the panel. I started out using, this is called a heel dolly, and it's fairly heavy. This one has really sharp edges on it, so I'll use the smaller section of it as a hammer from the back side to hit the metal to get it working those low spots up. And as my spots get smaller and smaller, I'll go and I may use, like, I have a bad habit of just kind of using the edge of the hammer and lightly hitting it. When you're holding your body hammer and you're going to strike stuff with it, it's really just you're grabbing and you're pulling it with two of these fingers. And a lot of times I'll have my finger out like this on the handle just to kind of gain more control, because I'm trying to hit a spot, this small with that hammer every time consistently. So it definitely pays for you to grab some junk sheet metal and put dents in it and take dents out of it, just to kind of see how the metal reacts and get that accuracy where you can hit the exact spot that you want to with your hammer while you're working this. This big crease in here is pretty much all gone now, and you can tell this fender's already got body filler in it. So I'm not going to take it out and make it just absolutely perfect. I'll get it really, really close, which this half out here is very close now. I just have this half to work, and then we're looking down here at this spot, and it's got to be welded up. I did get it more the correct shape, but it's got some filler that's split here. I don't know. We end up having to completely rework that. I'm probably just going to work the damage out on this fender, get it really close, DA it down to metal, and throw some aerosol primer on it, because I really want to get the front end of this car assembled so I can show you our next big job. All right, something that can definitely help you out is to work on a comfortable table that's a decent height. And there's nothing wrong with getting access to the back side and being able to see exactly where you need to hit. I've got a spot right here that's still low, and like I said, I'll use the edge of the hammer. I'm not trying to metal finish this, so a few small hammer marks aren't going to bother as much. Now, that's purely hammer off dolly. So if I take my heel dolly and I use the flat part of it, I put it on the back side, and when I tap, you may be able to tell there's a slightly different sound there where I'm backing that up. And all I'm doing is I'm just working kind of in a small circle to the deepest part of that dent. I'm not pounding on it, hitting it hard. This metal, everybody says it's super thick and it's like tank metal. It's really not. After almost 100 years, there's enough of this metal that has been lost to rust and people sanding and grinding on it. It's as thin as new cars are. So we just lightly tap, we work that, and then we come around to the other side and we hit it with our sanding block. So we're back over here, and I'm working this little small part of this crease right here, and I just kind of gradually start working through there. And you can see we're down. It's not quite sanding in the very center of that, but it's really close. The rest of this is super close. So I'm happy with how far we got this out. I think it's great. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this fender up, and we'll catch you guys out at the car probably in the next video. We're gonna start bolting sheet metal on and make this thing look like a complete car. So hey, if you guys like the video, subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up, send it to someone else you know that might need some tips, things here or there. And you know, it really helps me if you comment and you let me know what I can do different. So hey, you guys have a great day, and we'll catch you on the next one. Well, all right guys, here we go. We got the old 35 here with some fenders on and a grill shell in it. It's far from being lined up perfectly at this point, but things are sitting on here. I just wanted to check our repaired fender out, make sure that it went on. The contour was correct on the front. We bolt up to the grill okay, and it looks like we're pretty good. Got a little bit more work to do right here. Another thing I wanted to look at was this gap right there, and it looks like we're pretty close there. Wheels at full droop, so we got quite a gap underneath it there. But hey, that's all going to work out. We got the running board is actually bolted on, and I'm working towards figuring out these little running board mounts and stuff. It's going to take, I don't know, probably the same amount of work to make those fit as it would just to build something brand new, but we're gonna come up with something there. Got to get all this stuff kind of fitted so it bolts together, and then I'll work on getting the insides of the doors primed in with high build so we can get rid of scratches and kind of get things ready for color. So hey, anyway, this thing is coming along. It's really starting to look cool. One little extra tidbit here. My dad has been looking, and yeah, right here is kind of a rough masked off shape, just eyeballing it, getting it the same between the window there. I think yeah, we're gonna build a rear door for this car, turn it into a 3-door sedan or a sedan delivery. They did not make they didn't make 600 of them in 1935. The real ones, the window's a little different shape. I think the rear of the roof may be slightly different, but this is going to be cool. I've got parts ordered and on the way. So while I'm waiting on that, I want to get the front end of this car where it all fits. The motor built, so all I'm waiting on is a transmission and myself to do all this fabrication on the back. Anyway, guys, if you like my videos, give them a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to my channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.